Arise, queens. This is the All Queens Army, where women are provided with the tools you need to overcome your fears, face your flaws, and experience breakthroughs as you develop self-esteem so strong you emanate royalty. Now, for your host and commander of the All Queens Army, Breezy time.
Welcome to the All Queens Army. What's up, queens? We have another dope bomb episode today. Today, I'm going to be spilling a little bit of tea, y'all. So grab your queen mug. The tea is going to be piping hot. It's not a lot of tea, but just enough for your taste buds, okay? So today, we're going to be talking about a very important topic for us as women. We're talking about relationships with the man in your life's baby mama, or lack thereof, right? Some of us don't even have a relationship with the baby mamas, because there's a little bit of drama there. Or a situation where you are the baby mama, right? You have a child with a man and he has moved on to another relationship. So we're talking about that relationship with the other woman, okay? Whether it's the baby mama of your current man or your ex-man's new woman. That's what we're talking about today, y'all. And how do we kind of deal with those types of relationships? Or do we deal with them? Are we dealing with them? Okay. And if so, are we dealing with them in a productive way? Let's be clear. The reason we're talking about this is because the important thing is the children that are involved in these relationships. So while we're going to be pouring some tea, we are going to be dealing with and talking about some real issues, because some of us as women are in situations where there's just not a productive relationship going on with the new woman or the baby mama. And we really, really have to figure out how to work through those types of relationships, because, again, the important thing is the children. So today I want to welcome one of my beautiful, I've known this lady for a while now, okay? She is a beautiful queen. So welcome to the show, Pam. We're very excited that you decided to come on the show today.
Hello. How are you?
Well, I'm good, girl. How was you?
Amazing.
You look good.
Thank you, Karis.
It's nice and bright and early today.
It is.
Yes. So we invited Pam to talk about this topic because she has some experience with this type of situation on all sides, right? So Pam, can you tell us a little bit about, because you've been married, right?
Yes.
And you also have a kid with someone that you aren't with anymore.
Correct.
Okay. So you a baby mama.
I'm a baby mama.
Even though, you know what? I don't even want to say baby mama, right? Because I feel like that reduces us a little bit.
Okay.
We have children.
Okay.
Right? We're mothers.
Right.
And we're no longer with the dads.
Right.
Instead of baby mama. Does that sound better?
It does.
Okay. So you have a son, right?
I do.
You're no longer with the dad.
Right.
You also have an ex-husband.
Yes.
Who is, what's your ex-husband's situation?
So he just got married.
Okay.
And his wife has 2 children.
Okay. So, but wait, y'all have a kid together too?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have 1 son together.
Okay.
That's 10.
Okay. Got it. So you have a 10-year-old with your ex-husband.
Yes.
And then you have another child with?
Who's 14.
Okay.
With another man that is married as well.
Okay. Y'all see how this be getting all detailed or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in a relationship today.
Yes. And he has 2 children.
Got it. So again, y'all, the reason we're talking about this is you see how many children, wind up being involved in these types of situations. And we as women, I think we need to come together more and be more productive in how we deal with each other when we have so many children involved. And, we're moving on with our lives, trying to find our own happiness and peace and all of that good stuff as far as relationships are concerned. But then there's so many other people involved. And how do we maneuver through that? So Pam, do you want to just give us an overview, if you can, of kind of, your experience, like, your first child and your experience with dealing with that man's baby mama?
Okay.
Just give us a little tea, honey.
All right. So that relationship, initially, he had a son, and his son's mother and I developed a relationship primarily, for my part, because I felt like the son was supposed to be involved in our lives. And I didn't feel like he was getting him. He wasn't spending weekends like I felt like he should have.
Mm-hmm.
So I was promoting, you need to get your son. But in order for you to get your son, we live together. So there has to be some part on my part that I play in helping to do that and having a relationship and developing this bond. And I never have thought that it was okay all of the time, sometimes, but if you can have a relationship with them other, I think that you should. I think that if I have your son every weekend, or even at any point, if I have a relationship with your son, I should know his mother. I should be able to call his mother and say, hey, listen, I wanted to come get him. I'm going to do this, and this weekend. I just wanted to eat, whether I'm with the father and we're physically all three of us together, or just me and her son. I wanted us to have that bond. So she and I kind of just developed that bond. I think it was originally because we were discussing him and all of the stuff he was doing and the dysfunction in that. So we actually started speaking from a dysfunctional place of, okay, he did this. Oh yeah, really, he did that. And it wound up being about the son, because we both kind of understood. We just happened to date the same man.
Right.
That was it at the time. You know, she had a son by him and I was dating him. So we had so much more in common than we realized, which most women do.
Right.
You have more in common than you realize, because we didn't put those borders up and those boundaries where I don't like her because that's the baby mother, or I don't like her because she the ex. Well, she's the ex. She had an experience with this man, period. And that's it. Like, it's no comma. That's just, she had an experience with him.
Right.
And the experience from that perspective is over from what we knew. So we developed a friendship, and then I got pregnant. Funny, she kind of like was like, yeah, really, this what you doing? Because we were that close. Like, she was like, really? And that's what you chose? All right. Because maybe we were together for like a year and a half by then. So she and I developed a relationship. And I believe, I want to say, she went to my first doctor's appointment. I believe.
So let's just let the cat out the goddamn bag, okay? Who is she?
I'm struggling with the she because I'm trying not to say names.
I like her. I like her. She sounds like a dope ass girl.
You sure you want to go to she already?
Yes.
Okay. So she is Bree.
Yes, baby.
Yes.
So Pam is my baby mother.
Yes.
Am I your baby mother? You about my baby mother? How does
we
that work?
baby mothers? Like, I don't even know that there's a.
So girls, we gonna spill a little tea. So Pam is my son's dad's son's dad.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Is that right?
It is.
Listen,
Your son's dad.
We be making a mess in our younger ages. Don't we just be making a mess? Okay.
So we share the same father of our son.
I'm about to say, girl, we're not sisters now.
No.
We're not the same father.
Our sons have the same father.
There you go. So to wrap it all up, right? Basically, my son's dad, and my son is 18 now, right? So this dates us back, right? Because
20 years.
Yes, because when my son was 18 months old, almost 2 years old, is when me and his dad split up, and Pam was actually the new woman, right? She was the new girlfriend. He moved on really fast, to be honest.
You didn't even know he was moving.
I didn't know he was moving. I didn't know he was moving on. I knew he was getting the fuck out of my house. Let's be clear. I knew he was packing his shit.
She thought he was going to his grandma.
I thought he was just moving. I didn't know he was moving on. Let's be clear, okay? If we being 100% honest, okay?
Right.
But to be so, because we're being very transparent. So you were clearly messing with him while we were together, because I didn't know he was moving on.
The real is.
Hindsight is 2020,
now
right?
we know, but at the time,
I had to call you out on
the
that.
Infancy.
So can we both be honest?
Sure.
That both of us was dumb as fuck.
Absolutely.
I want to address that, because to me, that's a really good place to stop for 1 second and identify that when we find ourselves in situations like that as women, we're not valuing ourselves, really. Like, when you really think about it, because there's no way that a man should be able to finesse lies like that, and we see nothing. There's just no way, because if we really value ourselves, we would ask more questions. Like, we would say, it's disrespectful to have another woman calling my home.
Absolutely.
Right? We would say things like, don't come to me and want to be with me when you're living with another woman. I don't care what you're saying the situation is. So I think that's a good place for us to identify that, because we really have to work on our esteem and our value. Now, granted, we were clearly very young at the time, right? We was pretty much kids, if you really want to look at it that way, right? We was kind of kids, but still, we really have to value who we are, and we really have to call men out on their shit when they telling us these I don't want to say lies, because I don't want to call nobody a liar.
Well, it was.
So you gonna say it? You gonna call it a lie?
I'll call it all day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It was a lie, because at the end of the day, you and him knew what you had, right? So this is, and it doesn't matter. Our age at the time matters for you and I, but that still happens in women that are 40 and 50 and 60.
Absolutely.
So they're still doing and perpetrating the same thing, and they don't care. So I would definitely be more inclined to say, as you mature, whether it be 18 or however old, hopefully this podcast, I will not disrespect another woman in any way.
Absolutely.
So if my talking to you is disrespectful to her in any way, I'm not going to be a participant in that. And you may see it as, I don't even deal with her like that. But from another woman, why would I intrude in any way?
Right.
And even if she got a whole nother man, that's not my place.
Well, because, it's funny, because the likelihood that there's nothing going on with a man who's still living with another woman, the likelihood that that's true, let's be honest, is very slim. Just like the likelihood that a man who has a quote unquote friend, and I'm doing my finger quotes with the word friend, who's calling your home, the likelihood is very slim that that's not just a friend.
Because it wasn't for me.
Right. Now, and I'm gonna move on. I just wanted to highlight that, because this podcast and really what All Queens Army is about is self-esteem, and us building self-esteem and identifying things that we really need to work on, because the truth of the matter is we can't control men. Men going to do what they're going to do, right? They're good men. There's not so good men. They're liars. They're cheaters. There's so many different characteristics. And women, the same, right? There's women like that too.
Right.
But we can't control what people outside of us do. All we can control is what we allow, what we tolerate, what we attract. You know what I'm saying? And so I really just wanted to identify that, because the fact that we even both found ourselves in that situation where both of us are being, misled, that in and of itself is interesting. And so many women deal with that and believe it. And it's like, come on, why are we believing this bullshit? So with that being said, you mentioned that you and her, which we all now know is me,
right,
as the mother of the child in this situation, we started talking, and you said that we started talking based off of kind of comparing some notes of things that were being told to you versus things that were being told to me. And that's actually how we built a bond, which is so crazy that we started talking because we were identifying with things that weren't true. And I also want to say that it wasn't even intentional. We weren't trying to figure out that he was lying. We just happened to have a conversation. No. So do you mind kind of sharing like the first time? Because I remember very clearly the first time we had a conversation and why we had that conversation. Do you remember?
Give me a...
So the first time we had a conversation, he was away, and you had called to come to my house to see the baby, our son, me and his son together. And you came over and and I told you it was fine. You could come over because prior to that, he didn't want us to talk. Remember, he didn't want me to have a relationship with you or vice versa.
Right. Because you were terrible.
Yeah, he I guess he was telling you I was a terrible person, right? So you came to my apartment and we sat down on the couch and you asked me a question about something that was in
a TV.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. So that's I
didn't remember if that was the first conversation or whether that was the first time we had met.
It was
in person.
It was the first real conversation.
Like real conversation.
Yeah, like we had talked on the phone just
but it was brief.
Exactly. It was just a, hey, this is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. But that was the first time that we actually had a discussion.
And he had to be away in order for that to happen. It was almost like it was divine.
Well,
because I don't know that we would have
I'm sure we
had that opportunity had he been there, because he would have probably tried to block it in some way.
Right. So, yeah. So tell us about
the discussion.
Yeah. What made you open up and start asking me questions about what you were asking me about?
Because things didn't, first of all, like I said, I was very adamant, and it didn't matter whether he was there or not. I still at that point, had a relationship with your son at the time. So I didn't want to sever that relationship because he was gone. So when I got there was a TV, and there was something about him saying, I don't remember exactly, but it was something about this TV that he had taken or didn't take. And I remember asking you about the TV.
Mm-hmm.
And the TV sparked a whole nother plethora.
And we don't have to go into that, right? Because again, we're not bashing.
Not at all. Plethora of information.
Yeah.
But the TV was what made us honestly, was what made us just start talking. Mm-hmm. So we started talking about the relationship, how both of us wound up being intertwined in this and getting involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we even went to a place where it was like, I'm glad that we didn't allow what we thought to make us judge one another. Mm-hmm. Because you could have very well looked at me and been like, okay, well, she the other woman, she knew about me, she da-da-da-da-da, and she still dealt with him. When that wasn't the truth. I really didn't, but you would have never known my truth until you spoke to me.
And that's another key too, is there's so many, women, right, who are dealing with the baby mother again, or dealing with the new woman, the baby mother dealing with the new woman. And you have these two women, and sometimes they're not able to get along, or there's tension between the two. And I'm going to take out sometimes. I'm going to say most of the time. Mm-hmm. The tension is because the man is in the middle. Mm-hmm. And I don't think men do a good job of knowing how to have a relationship with the new woman and the mother of their child. They just don't know how to juggle. I mean, I've even had this with my husband, and dealing with his kid's mom. Mm-hmm. It's a difficult position for men to be in. No excuse for bad behavior, no excuse for lies, but you and I, Pam and Bree, decided that we were going to have our own conversation. And I didn't pass judgment on you. I didn't really know all the details. I knew that clearly he was cheating because you moved out and you moved in with her. Mm-hmm. But I didn't assume that you were a bad person. I didn't assume that you was just, excuse my language, but fucking my man. Mm-hmm. I just didn't assume that. Mm-hmm. I felt like, okay, well, it is what it is. Again, I can't control what's going on outside of them. I can only control me. And my attitude was just, I got to move on. And so I can't move on with anger and bitterness and, and hate and spite and all of that. So the only thing I can do is embrace, this is the new situation now, and I need to embrace it. And that meant embracing the woman that he's chosen to move on with. Mm-hmm. So that was my perspective. What was your perspective of me? What were you told, one, about me? And then what made you not listen to what you were being told about how terrible I was? Because, men do that all the time. Absolutely. They bash the ex, they bash the baby mother. They say, oh, she crazy, she do this, she do that, she act like this, she act like that. But what they're not saying is why she may be behaving that way. Mm-hmm. What they're not owning sometimes is, and again, not all the time, not all the time, but sometimes what men aren't owning is what they're doing that's causing her behavior to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. No excuse. We shouldn't let men get us to acting silly. Right. We shouldn't let them pull us down to their level. Mm-hmm. But in all honesty, when you're in a relationship or you in love or you think you are, you get caught up and you shoot. Your emotions are involved, right? So we're not always on our best behavior, right? But sometimes men lie about not lie, but maybe they're not telling the whole truth. They're only telling one side of the story, but they're not telling what they're doing that's creating that. So what were you told about me? Mm-hmm. And then what made you kind of toss what he was saying aside and decide on your own, I want to get to know her for myself?
Y'all basically had a dysfunctional relationship as far as he was concerned.
That is true.
But
that is true.
From my perspective, even back then, I've always felt like there are two sides to a story. And as a woman, I know that the relationships normally start off really, really well. Mm-hmm. And then something happens that makes it go bad. So my perspective on it was, what part did he play to make it go bad? And if she's so terrible, why you been with her for so long? And if she's so terrible, that's not reflective of her child, because he was amazing. And, sometimes you get a feel for different, children kind of give you an understanding of the person that they reside with or their temperament and things like that.
So who's raising them kind of comes through in the child's personality.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't get that from him.
From my son, you mean?
Right, exactly. Okay. I didn't get that from him. He wasn't angry. He wasn't fussing. You know what I mean? He wasn't that child. So for me, when I first reached out to you and we spoke about him, you didn't have the negative. You didn't have the animosity. You didn't have the jealousy that he spoke of.
So that's what I was trying to get to. So he told you that I was jealous and mad and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I figured that.
So in him saying that, when I spoke to you, that's what I thought I was going to get. And when I didn't get it, I wanted to know more about you because I felt like you're lying to protect yourself. You're lying to protect whatever lies you've already told and you don't want me to know. So, and why are you lying? Why are you making her sound like she's this terrible person? Which made me want to... One, like I said, if I'm going to be involved in his life, I need to know his mom outside of you. I need to be able to call her and say, hey, or she needs to be able to call me. Hey, listen, he get out of school early. Can you grab him? All of those things, because we need to be able to coincide.
Right.
So if we can't coexist, and that's going to wind up where the child is going to be in the middle, because if your son comes to my house and I feel negative about you, he's not going to develop so much of a bond with me because he knows I don't like his mother.
And I'm going to stop right there because two things I want to identify with what you just said. One is there was a picture painted about me that wasn't true. Right. I'd never, despite how I felt, because I'm going to be 100% honest, I was deeply hurt. I struggled so much with the breakup and then him moving on so quickly. I struggled as a new mom because remember, my son was only 18 months. I think he was maybe 2 by the time all of this started to play out. But for me, I really understand women who feel bitter. And I really understand women who feel jealous. I really understand the emotions that we feel when the man has moved on. And now my child has to be integrated into your new relationship. That feeling right there was the worst feeling I've ever experienced of anything I've dealt with in my entire life, if I'm being 100% honest. Sure. That feeling was like somebody ripping my heart out and throwing it on the ground. For me, that feeling felt like all I had left was my son. And I apologize if I get emotional, but this is the first time I've ever said this to anyone other than my husband. Okay. I've never shared this with anyone, but what it felt like was my relationship is over, right? I'm heartbroken. Not only do I have to deal with the fact that my relationship is over, the only thing that I have to hold on to right now that loves me unconditionally,
and
right?
That is yours.
That is mine and that I can count on and that I can depend on is my son. And now I have to share that love. That's all I got. I mean, now granted, we have family and things like that, but I'm talking about that intimate love that you feel that everybody is longing for, that I have to share with his dad, and he's going to integrate that with another woman. That hurt is something that I cannot describe. It is the most painful thing. And at a young age, because I was 22, I think, maybe going on 23. So feeling that and being young and inexperienced, and this is my first, love and my high school sweetheart, all of that, like that shit hurt like a bitch.
And I would have never known that.
I know, but let me tell you why. And I want to say this on the podcast. The reason that you never saw that pain or bitterness or anger or resent or spitefulness, like I'm trying to get him back, is because the best advice I ever got in my entire life was from my dad. Rest his soul, because he's not with us anymore. But when I was going through that, my dad said to me, I want you to take every blow to the face. Let your guards down and feel the pain. Just feel it. Face it. Deal with it. Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Don't hoard my son in and keep him all to myself and prevent him from having a relationship with his dad and with you at the time. Then at least it shields me from having to face it and having to deal with it. And I think that's what women do.
Right.
I think a lot of times what women are doing, and again, this is just my opinion from my experience. Sure. Other women may say they disagree. But a lot of times, to me, my opinion, when women are in that situation where they're still hurting and that the feelings are still raw and there's a child involved, they hoard the child to themselves because, one, they need that love. They're hurting. So they need the love that your children give to you. It's raw. it's unconditional. Your kids love you, right? And you need that because you're hurting. So you're trying to kind of patch your pain with your child's love. So you're holding on to it and you don't want to share it. You don't want to share it with, with their father because he hurt you.
Right.
You don't want to share it definitely with the new woman.
Not at all.
You don't want her to experience what you want to hold on for yourself.
And suppose she's enough.
Right.
Suppose she's great. Suppose she actually is amazing. Right. So now, what am I?
Yeah.
You're
already vulnerable.
Can you pull my son from me too?
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like, it's a fear of, I don't have the man. And it's, listen, this is not from a low self-esteem perspective.
Not at
this
all.
is absolutely about women who we're not made for, like, God didn't put us here to be single moms. You know what I'm saying? He put us here to be the nurturers of a household, of a home. And so when you break up that dynamic, for a woman, it is extremely hard and very painful. However, we're in 2018. Back then we was in 2012, 2002, 2003. But we're in a place in our culture and in society where most relationships, marriages with children don't stay together. Right. So as women, we have to learn how to cope with this new dynamic. We have to learn how to cope with it. And so my dad, again, the advice that he gave me was take all the pain and take it now. Deal with it. Don't hide from it. Don't keep your son from his dad because you're trying to keep your son all to yourself, or because you don't want to face, having to deal with the dad, with the new woman. Like the more you can kind of shut it out and not deal with it, the easier it is and the less painful it is. But what my father was saying was, don't do that. Right. Just face it. Just deal with it. If there's a new woman involved and this new woman is going to be in your child's life because his dad has moved on with someone else, face it. Suck it up and deal with it. And so on the inside, I felt the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. But on the outside, I held it together because I just wasn't going to give my son's dad the satisfaction of, because I knew he was slandering me because people were telling me, like, he's saying this about you. And so one, I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of acting like an ass. Two, I wasn't going to be spiteful and arguing and fighting and all of that. Three, I absolutely, positively know that every child needs both of their parents. And it's not my job or my decision to make it so that my son didn't have that experience, whether I like the situation he was in or not, because I didn't like it. But at the same time, I can't control that. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a whole individual man and he's going to make the choices he makes. And it is going to impact my son's life and it is going to impact my life. But I have no control over that. Right. I'm not my son's only parent. So that was why I never why you probably never saw in me that I was jealous or any of the things that he told you. But that was where I was trying to get, like, what was he telling you about me? Because I knew he was saying things about me and he was trying to make it look like I was this terrible person.
In all truth, I think in the beginning it was kind of like slander. It was like, she's terrible, this, that, and the other. But I really think once I met you and we developed our own relationship, I almost think I blocked out whatever he said because I didn't believe it anymore. It wasn't true for me. So I was like, hey, well, I think he made that up. Because it was easier to make it up where I felt like you were this terrible person. Because let's be honest, when you meet a guy and he tells you about their ex, you automatically believe them.
Exactly.
Automatically, off the top. Yep. I don't know you from a bowl of milk, but I believe everything that you say. So if you tell me she's terrible, oh gosh, she got to be terrible. If you tell me that she beat you over the head, she had to have beat you over the head.
With that being said, let's move on. This is good. Right, this is good.
Let's go.
So, okay. So we started talking. I wouldn't say, and tell me if you agree or disagree, I wouldn't say we had a bond yet.
No, not in the beginning.
Okay. Because at that point, we had just had a conversation. I think it was more of it was our first time really sitting down and talking. Okay. And you guys have been together for a while at that point. So, and again, my son is coming to your house when he's visiting his dad. So I was actually excited about just being able to meet the woman finally who my son is around because I think that's important. I think it's important to meet the woman that your kids are going to be around. Absolutely. Just like I think if you're the new woman, it's important for you to meet the baby mother. Y'all don't necessarily have to be friends, right? I mean, we just so happen to develop a friendship.
Right.
But that doesn't have to be the goal.
Right.
The goal should more so be to develop at least a speaking relationship where y'all can have a conversation that's productive.
Right.
No arguing, no fussing, no beefing, no fighting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you
Agreed.
guys can have a conversation that is, you know, surrounding what's best for the children or child involved.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that we had a bond yet, right? Would you agree
No.
or no?
No, I don't think that we had a bond in the beginning. We had understanding. We had a
respect, like a
this
mutual
is a
respect.
total respectful relationship, a total respectful understanding that we have some commonalities, which was the father and which was the son.
Right.
And both had to coincide for you and I to be able to deal with one another. Now, at some point, the father didn't have to, but initially, that was the way that we wound it up.
Right.
So the bond developed later on.
So tell us about that. Tell us about, you know, so after that conversation that we had, kind of what transpired, like what kind of grew?
So for me, I had a totally different perspective of you, not just as his mother, but as a woman. Because you could have hated me. You could have been bitter. You could have been angry. You could have been nasty. You could have just, you know, when I came over, it could have been a very awkward and ugly situation because you could have just, you know, I could have went over there and you were just this evil person that he had already painted this picture. So you could have actually been who he said you were, right? But once I met you, it was like, no, as a woman, she's a woman. She's actually another human being. She's another queen. She's another amazing person that has been put. Absolutely. Like I knew that from the beginning though. And I felt like you were put in this position that you didn't ask to be in.
Right.
And that's most of us. You know, we don't know what's happening outside. So you didn't know all these things were transpiring and these things were being said about you. As far as you're concerned, you cooking dinner and you think you're going to be home at 8:00 and everything is great. You didn't even know you was in a complicated relationship.
I didn't.
You had no idea. We can speak about that later. So, but in all of that, I saw who you were as a mom. I saw who you were as you were her. Like you just said, I didn't even know, and we've been friends for God knows how long, but I didn't even know. And it's interesting to hear that perspective because you think of all of these other things about the baby mother, but you never hear, you know there's some hurt there, but you don't hear the side of, you wanted me to share my son, and that's all I got. And that was all I had left, and you were taking that. And even if it's a small portion of it, you didn't earn it.
Absolutely.
There's a small portion of it.
I built this.
Hello.
I birthed this. This is
I
mine.
gave this.
Yeah.
This is all mine. This is all me.
It's hurtful.
But you want to have some part of this me that was mine and that was ours. So this family that we were building has now dismantled.
Yeah.
And why do you get to be able to? So if I built him up, or if I built this family, why do you get the credit?
Absolutely.
Why are you the one that's going to benefit from all these things that I've worked so hard to develop?
Yes.
And you know, so if that was your childhood sweetheart, there was some stages in his life that he elevated. There were some stages in his life that he changed. He matured. He used to do this. He doesn't do this anymore. He's grown. So let's say he's at this level, and now the dude is like the president of a company. So the person that's coming in after me you've acquired the president of the company.
Right.
But I had to get the dude when he had no car, had no job. Like, why did you get the benefit of all of that?
Exactly.
And you got my child.
Right.
So wait a minute. God forbid the child like you. So now my child likes you and adores you. And oh my God, like she's so cool and I like her and I got to hear this.
Yep.
So does the other woman hear it and like, oh, that is so good. She's a bonus. Or does the other woman hear it and the fear that she has make her be like, you know, well, I don't like her, or, you know,
And
she
that's
just that
the key.
and the other. So that's the
key.
other part of the conversation.
Right.
How do you internalize? How do you take on that conversation that your child is going to have? And have you made it where your child should be comfortable to come to you and say, oh my God, I went over Miss Bree house and we had so much fun. We went to the mall, we did this, that, and the other. We made Jell-O together, whatever that conversation looks like. Can your child come and have that conversation with you without feeling like, if I say this to my mom, I'm going to hurt her feelings.
Right.
If I say this to my mom, she's going to be upset. I don't want to be the person that breaks my mom's heart, because your children hear and see more than what you think they do. So when you upstairs crying,
Oh,
they
they know.
still hear you.
Yeah, they
they
know.
still see it.
They
They
might
know
not
when you
even
come
hear or
out the
see you.
room. Yeah, when
Yeah,
you come
but
out the
they
room,
know.
your demeanor is different, your
Right.
attitude is different.
They can feel your
feel
energy.
it. They feel it.
Yeah.
So, what part do we play, even silently, in how our child perceives that other person?
Right.
And is that fair? And as women, and even as men, but as women, we have to own our own shit. We gotta own our own wrongs. And if
That's
nobody pulls it out and nobody says it to you, you're never confronted with it because you think it's normal. You think it's right. If you see all of your other girlfriends, oh my God, girl, I hate her, this, that, and the other, and they bashing a new woman, and oh girl, she ain't even cute. Da da da. If that's okay within your circle, you think that's okay. So even as it relates to the children's mother and whomever else is involved, because they have other children as well. The other woman could have other children too. So is that child supposed to bond with those other children? They not your sister. They not your brother. Don't call them. Like, let them develop their relationship, because whether they stay together or not, that's their individual relationships. So do we have a right to involve ourselves in that?
I don't think so.
And I don't think so either.
I don't think
that
so.
Whatever relationship they develop with the woman, as long as it's productive and as long as it's positive, I don't see it. I see that as a bonus. I saw you as a bonus. I saw, you know what I'm saying? I felt like we didn't have a reason to beef.
We didn't.
And I don't know why women feel like as soon as they realize that it's a baby mother or somebody else that's of the same sex, automatically there's a conflict. That is crazy.
It goes back to what we talked about earlier, which is what role does the guy play in the two relationships, right? So I'm going to use another personal example. My husband has kids outside of our, before we got married. He has children. And when we first got married, that was actually one of our biggest issues was his ex being really nasty. And listen, I'm no saint, so I'm never going to paint myself as the perfect person. But what I do pride myself in is I don't really show how I really feel. Most of the time, I have a very good poker face. And I don't engage in, I do engage in some bullshit because you got me into...
But that's because
some
we
drama.
Have a bond. Because that's because we
want to
talk
about
each other.
Listen, we will talk about that on another episode, y'all. Listen,
y'all
queens,
are not ready.
Y'all are not ready for the shit that me and her then got ourselves into. And it was baby mama drama.
Yeah,
and
our bond is real though.
Listen, we will talk about that on another episode, okay? That got to be another episode because that
absolutely does.
Y'all listen.
Like, stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Come back in another few episodes, y'all, and we're gonna follow up with that conversation. But let me stay on track here. Now, what the hell was I saying?
So let me interject real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think one of the main things that I think as women we need to be very, very clear on is there's some signs. There's some to me some red flags that you should be aware of. When a man is negative about the person they've shared however many years with, there should be a red flag. Because at some point, there was some positive, right? So if you keep trying to make it sound like this person is so terrible and they don't want you to have a relationship with them, why?
When you say with them, you mean...
with the other woman.
Right. So when the man
I wasn't supposed to have a relationship with you ever.
Okay.
Ever. That was never supposed to be in the cards. Because it made sense to keep us away from one another. Because then... I don't know what you know. You don't know what I know. And he can do whatever he want to do.
Right.
So at that point, whatever lies, whatever pictures he wants to paint, this could be for male or female. You're going to believe it because you never talked to me to know anything different.
But isn't that why, though, that point that you're making, isn't that why, or maybe it's not the only reason, but isn't that one of the reasons why women can't do what we were able to do? Like,
absolutely.
Why, because that's what actually what I was talking about. It's all about how the man paints the picture, like how, like when he moves into a new relationship, what is he saying about his relationship with his ex, his child's mother? What is he saying about her as a woman? Is he putting her down? Is he making her out to be crazy? Is he saying, which I hate that word. I hate when men say, oh, she crazy. I hate that. I really despise when any of us, when we say women are crazy, that drives me crazy. seriously. I can't stand it because we're emotional and we're not usually
It doesn't make us
crazy just because it's something that we're dealing with, right or wrong. It's something that we're dealing with. So I think that's the whole point of it is the reason that we aren't getting along, the reason that the women in this situation aren't getting along, and why there's tension with the new wife or the new girlfriend or the baby mother is because the man is not properly positioning his ex and he's not properly positioning his new woman. And it could be for a ton of reasons. Who knows? We can't get into that because that's only men know why they do that.
Right.
But what I think that women should focus on is learning and understanding and trying to get to know that woman on your own. You know, don't pass judgment based on what you're being told. Even if, you know, some of the things she do is a little shaky, you don't know from where she's coming from, what she's doing, because she could be doing that based on conversations that she's having with him that you don't know about, or that he's telling you one thing about the conversations, but really is something else going on. So I think that we should try to give each other the benefit of the doubt.
Right. Until you know otherwise, she's still another queen.
Exactly.
So until you know otherwise and she's offended you, then she still should be looked at as another woman. She should still be looked at as your equal, as opposed to, I don't like her, you demean her. You know, she's not what you are. So at the end of the day, our feelings, our emotions are normally pretty even for most part. A lot of women have so much more in common. A lot of women have our stories parallel.
Absolutely.
They are, if you sat down and really put your cards on the table and really are transparent and you live in your truth and you're not living in your Facebook reality, but you living in your real reality.
Facebook reality.
Right, yeah. You know, you living in your real reality. If we could move from the negative energy and the negative part and see that woman for just who she is and who she is for you. Because so, like with any relationship, I may act differently with Bree than I do with another baby mother.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
For all the reasons that whatever those reasons are, right? So Bree's conversation about Pam is going to be different than somebody else's conversation about Pam, because my experience with you is different.
Right.
So when we came into this whole thing, we were positive from the beginning. So whatever pictures that was painted, I was mature enough and you were mature enough at the time to know, nah, I need to learn her for myself. I kind of need to figure this out for myself. She ain't do nothing to me. And like I said, for me, you didn't do anything to me.
Right.
So out of all, okay, so you said that they fight a lot. You said that she swing. Well, she a Cap. I'm the Cap. I kind of get it. I
Capricorn.
Understand. Yeah, Capricorns, you know, we're a little reactive, so I get it. So I wish somebody would let women understand that really and truly, take the negative off of the other woman. Take you gotta hate her. You know what I'm saying? If they not with you,
they against you.
Yeah.
But you know, women are always pinned up against each other.
But
like,
I wish it wasn't like that. I do. I so wish it wasn't.
But that's why we have All Queens Army, and there are a lot of women and a lot of platforms that are trying to bring women together so that we stop doing that. But culturally, it's just something that happens where two women just cannot exist on the same plane. It has to be her or me. You know what I'm saying? Like, we even see that in music. You know what I'm saying? It can't be too top of anything. It's always has to be controversy. Right. But you don't see men doing that. Like, you don't see men competing at that level. Right. You know? But our competition is I'm either up and she's down, or she's up and I'm down. It's like, why can't we coexist? Right. On the same playing, level playing field and not beat each other down.
Speaking of fields, why can't we be on the football field together? Why can't all of us be cheering for our son together? So if it's three,
she throwing shade.
I'm throwing shade.
She is throwing shade. Y'all
tune in. Anyway, so
she's throwing shade.
If there's three of us on the field, if there's two of us on the field, we should all be able. Your son should be able to look up and say, "Wow, they all standing there together, and they all here for me, and they're all rooting for me, and they all screaming and going crazy for me." And the fact that should be what your children experience. They should experience when their father comes to get them with their new whomever they're with. There's no tension. They
Right.
say, hey, girl, how you doing? Oh,
Right.
girl, y'all look good together. I like it. Whatever. However, y'all dialogue. But no tension. Because why are you mad? Why are you mad at her? What did she do to you she didn't do anything to earn that. So until she's offended you, why are you making her guilty of something she hasn't done to you?
Right.
So even if they have a negative relationship, maybe you're supposed to be the person that brings that negativity out of both. Like, stop being negative to one another. No, you can't come to me and say, yeah, this to be da. No, don't call her B. We're not going to do that. I don't want you to don't even refer to her as that. Maybe that's what she has been in your past, but maybe I'm supposed to be the positive to this situation.
Right.
And maybe your kids are supposed to see that you no longer call her that.
Well, I was going to say, I think any strong woman, queen, if your man, and this is another pointer to all the queens listening, if your man or your new man or you've just met him is talking very negative about the ex, the child's mother, like you said, that is a red flag. So to your point, I'm not saying that there can't be some tension. I'm not saying that he has to be expressing how great of a person she is, right? I mean, if he felt like that,
she
then
is. Suppose they not beefing. Suppose they all good.
No. What I'm saying is like he doesn't have to come in singing her praises, right? Because he may not be in a place where he's happy with her right now, because clearly they broke up for a reason, right? If he felt like it was all roses and peaches and cream, then they would still be together. Right. So, in all honesty, he doesn't have to be singing her praises and saying how great she is. But can't there be a neutrality? Like, can't there be a middle ground? Why does it have to be that she's terrible?
All negative.
And even if she is terrible, you know what I'm saying?
Because there are those situations.
There are those situations
Absolutely.
where some women are, listen, we're not making excuses for bad behavior. Right. We're not doing that because we do identify that some women really do make things unnecessarily difficult and they're not in a place where they're open to what we're talking about. But we hope that we can get through to women like that and that we can identify, look, I understand your pain. I really do. And I said it before. I know exactly why women feel how they feel. I know why women behave the way they behave after a breakup when they have a child. I get it. It is very painful. However, why can't we identify with that pain and just live in it and experience it? Because that's what life is about. And learn how to move forward in a productive way. It's not the other woman's fault. So I feel like as women, we can, like you said, we can all play on the same football field. We can all cheer for each other. We can all grow together. We can all have productive conversations. And for the women who aren't in that place yet, we don't have to bash them, though. Right?
Not at all.
We don't have to bash them.
I hope it would grow them up to a different place where they feel like that is something they actually
you kind of feel
up
stupid.
To.
Yeah, you should feel bad about it.
Why do I dislike her? Like, let me think this through. If you have a valid reason to dislike them, okay. So maybe there's some validity to you not liking them, right?
Right.
But when does that stop?
Right.
When does that end? What's the expiration date for that?
Exactly.
So am I going to live in that? Or am I going to realize that, okay, so if he and I are still together and they are still together and clearly I'm still the baby mother or you're still the baby mother, we still got to coexist in some point. When does it stop? Where I'm like, okay, well, that's our past and let's move from today.
Right.
So whatever negative experiences have happened, that's in the past. We're going to move on. We're going to forgive each other like you would forgive anybody else. I don't know why it's so difficult to forgive the baby mother, but you forgive your friends, you forgive anybody else.
Listen, I say that all the time. But it's like, but women, we hold each other to a completely different standard. Like when women do something to each other, we don't forgive as quickly. But let a dude, cheat, lie, drag you down the steps, give you a black eye, all kinds of stuff.
You still with him.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that to even be funny or throw shade to anybody, but we let men do so many things and get away with so many things, and we ready to forgive them and jump back in the bed just to get our ass whacked. Excuse my language, but I'm being 100.
Let your girlfriend don't come to your birthday party.
Right.
You ain't speaking to her for the rest of your life.
Or let you have an altercation, since we're talking about baby moms and new wives and new women. If we do have an altercation, if we do run into a situation where, we disagreed or it was a problem, well, yeah, why can't we get past that? Like, let's be honest. You and I have not, we had what I considered I don't want to say a blow up because it was no blow up. We never had an argument, but we did have a period in time where I was not cool with something that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was based on me being told that you had done something, but
Because I didn't do it, but you thought I did.
I thought you did.
Right.
But I moved forward with the thought that you had done it because
which changed the dynamics of us.
Your actions changed. Like your attitude towards me changed. So to me, I was just like, oh, well, she must really feel that way since she's acting different.
But I was also being told.
I know.
It goes back to
It goes right back
the
into
man.
what we talked about.
He keeps being involved in the man telling you something, the man telling me something. Well, we didn't realize at the time the goal was to get us apart. The goal, because by then we was super close. So by then it was like, okay, hold on, these jokers is way too close. I cannot. I don't know why men. This is going to be a whole nother segment.
It is. So
can we bring up when men? Why men want us to not get along? Why men?
Oh, girl,
want us to. Like, why do men tell the ex or whomever that y'all had such a negative relationship and everything was terrible? And that's a total lie. Please write that down.
Well, but here's the thing.
We got to talk about that. We can,
but I'm going to just say one but. We already know the answer to that is if men aren't being 100% transparent with whatever has gone on in their past, right? With the baby mama, the child's mother, the ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, whatever. If he's not being 100% transparent and he knows that, then he doesn't want for her, right, his past to talk to his potential future because he's not being 100% transparent. And that's what we talked about. That's a big red flag. Yeah. If he's not open to you meeting this person or having a conversation with his child's mother, or he doesn't want the child's mother to meet the new woman, that's a red flag. Absolutely. It's a red flag if he's talking really badly about the child's mother. If he's coming to you and he's bashing her, again, he doesn't have to be in love with her and pray and sing her praises, but he doesn't have to put her down either. He could be neutral. Right. And the thing is, if you have moved on, if you're completely done with your past, you really are neutral. You're kind of indifferent. You don't care either way. You don't care if they, still acting a fool or if they still in love with you or if they, y'all cool. You don't care either way. You don't care to come to your next relationship and talk about what happened in the past in a negative way. You don't care to come to your new relationship and talk about what happened in the past in a positive way. You just don't care to talk about it. There's nothing to say because you've severed that bond and there are no feelings, ill or otherwise. Right. So that's the second red flag. If you're talking negative about the person, to me, that says a lot about who you are as a man. If you're coming to me and you're telling me how terrible she is and all the terrible things she did, listen, you're not a victim. You did some things too. And so we're going to wrap up, but we are going to have a part 2 to this episode. This is going to be part 1 because there's still so much of this topic that we have not even. Pam just said part 10. We didn't know damn part 10. Look, part 10 will be we in our 30s and 40s and shit. Kids is grown or in college and all that. But
just graduated.
But right. So we're gonna wrap up, but we have so much more to cover about this topic because clearly we could go on and on and on about this one particular topic.
Absolutely.
And I do want to follow up with this episode with a part 2, may even be a part 3. I don't know. It just depends on how much we're able to get through. But what we're gonna talk about on the next episode is just kind of following up with. One, I made mention to the fact that we weren't always on a good page. Like we did sit down, we had a conversation, we opened the doors, there was a mutual respect, and then we kind of fell back. For a few years, actually, we fell back and we didn't even speak at all. So I want to talk about that and just for us to tell y'all kind of what happened during that process. And then I also want to talk about what Pam mentioned when I said she was throwing shade about a very immature situation that we found ourselves in. It's not even funny, really. It's actually kind of fucking pathetic, to be honest with you.
It is funny. I'm sorry.
It's not funny.
Okay.
It is not funny. It's pathetic, y'all. And listen, I'm even embarrassed.
So the reason that I think it's funny,
oh my God,
is because it didn't have to happen.
No, it didn't.
It really didn't.
That doesn't make it funny.
It's funny.
Oh my God.
Because it was so many lies that were told and it wound up being men, this baby, that's my best friend.
Moving on, y'all.
Boo.
Moving on. So y'all have to tune in. Y'all have to tune in to part 2 of the conversation with Pam so that we can finish just talking about this relationship. And I will also say that Pam is not the only woman that I have personally been able to move forward with in a baby mother, new wife situation, there is another woman that I've been able to move forward with and form at least a productive relationship. Pam is working on that.
I am.
But yes, you are. So, and then there are so many other women that are starting to come forth, queens. There are lots of other women that are coming forth with showing that wives and new girlfriends can get along with the children's mothers of the men that they're with. There's so many women. You know, Jada Pinkett Smith is out there talking about it. I think Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys just showed, you know, that Mashonda was actually on vacation with them and they talked about it. Mashonda even had made a comment about how they formed a bond. So this conversation is happening more and more often. And I'm so very grateful for that because, again, we're shaping the lives of the next generation of children that are coming up behind us. And with the bad and ill behavior that some of us are displaying and that we're allowing for men to bring into our lives and the children's lives, ladies, we have to do better, right? We need to have real conversations. We need to be open about this. We need to, you know, pour out our hearts and be honest about why we feel the way we feel and what's preventing us from being able to build these bonds with women. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you feel about the mother of the child. It doesn't matter how you feel about the new woman in the man's life. At the end of the day, the children pay the goddamn price for what is going on. They didn't ask for it. Most times we didn't ask for it, right? A lot of times we didn't ask to be in the situations that we're in. But for the sake of our children, right? For the sake of shaping them into adults who can deal with things that come at them in life, right? For the sake of helping them to mature into emotionally sound human beings. We don't want to raise a generation of kids with a whole bunch of mental issues and a whole bunch of insecurities and a whole bunch of, you know, not knowing how to maneuver through life. We don't want that. We don't want to see our kids go through the shit that we've had to go through. So we have a responsibility here. And this is what All Queens Army is all about. We're about self-esteem, ladies. Make sure you pay attention to red flags. If that man is down in his child's mom, pay attention to that. If that man does not want you to ever talk to or have a relationship with that woman, pay attention to that. Let's build our self-esteem so that we can knock out some of the bullshit when we see it coming so that we don't find ourselves in these types of situations. And with that being said, we are going to close out on today's episode. Pam, I'm so excited that you came to have this conversation. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you invited me.
Thank you. And yes, honey. So listen, y'all better tune back in because we really are going to talk about the juice. She can't wait. She over here shaking. She can't wait.
So when you close this one, are you want to start the next one?
Right. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you go to iTunes and give us a good rating and give us some feedback on how you feel about the show and follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at All Queens Army. So thank you guys so much. I am out. I hope you guys have an amazing day. God bless.
Thank you for listening to the All Queens Army podcast. If you want to connect with Breezy Time and the All Queens Army, be sure to follow them on IG and Facebook at All Queens Army. Or head over and check out the All Queens Army YouTube channel. Until next time.